It's always been.
Right, Pat?
Hi, Earl. Trying to do my best. Sorry. Good to see you. Hi.
Hi. Hello.
Hi, Mr. Hunter. How are you?
Yourself?
Good.
I mean, I have some.
Do you have any plans to meet?
No, not today. Not
Not
yet.
today. Days
Not
out.
yet. We haven't even started the meeting. Give me some time. How you doing over there, Earl?
Good.
Did you get your lawnmower fixed?
Pardon me?
Did you get your lawnmower fixed?
Lawnmower.
Oh,
I'll work on that tomorrow.
well, the grass keeps on growing.
Yes, it
It's
does.
not stopping. I have a spare. I got an extra one for it.
Are we close?
We're on. We're not. Let's do
Good.
it.
Bergstrom.
Yes.
Merritt.
Yep.
Taylor.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Van Sickle.
Yes. Before we get going here, just a little housekeeping. Someone had talked to Joshua about when we make a motion and the recommendation, sometimes the public doesn't know what the recommendation is. So in past motions, we would just go, so moved. So moving forward, to be more transparent with the public, I think it would be a good idea just to reference the recommendation, or read the recommendation, or the bullet points of the recommendation, if you're going to be the first to take the motion moving forward. Is that pretty much what you talked about?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's spot on. I think there's people that are either in the crowd and or watching virtually, and we are saying, hey, we want to approve that recommendation on either a consent agenda or the action items, and they don't know what that item was until they see the board minutes. So I think with just helping with transparency and making sure people know what is actually the business that's being done, I think that would be a good suggestion.
So would you do that also with the consent?
No, it would. I'm sorry. It would be the action items.
Okay, very good. All right, so approval of agenda.
I move to approve the agenda.
You did that so
That
well.
was perfect. I'll second
Don't
that
clap.
perfect recommendation.
I'll second that.
Okay.
That's so good. I'm laughing. All right, good stuff.
Bergstrom.
Yes.
Merritt.
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Van Sickle.
Yes. Presentation, celebration, and reports. Joshua.
So the month of April is School Board Appreciation Month, and I'm not sure if you know what the role is until you're in the role. And I just want to personally thank you for all that you guys do. You guys volunteer a ton of time for our students, for our community, for our school, and it's a thankless position. So on behalf of the school, I want to thank you for serving in the role that you do. FFA does an annual plant sale, and we thought it would be a great token of appreciation that you guys receive something from our FFA that they actually grew in our greenhouse. So you guys received a small token of appreciation from them. And then also ISB is our continual partner. They sent out certificates, and you guys have a certificate from ISB. Just again, thanking you for all that you guys do as a board member.
Thank you. Anything else before we go to principals?
That's it.
Principals. Draw straws?
Yeah, we decided we'll go in first.
All right, there you
Take the lead. So just made me so quick word report. It is graduation week, and as part of the week-long preparation for Sunday's commencement ceremony, we have class night scheduled for Wednesday night at 6 p.m. to be followed by the graduation parade. The only good thing that we kept around from the pandemic. It's always nice to see the community out, get a chance to acknowledge the kids. The kids, I think, enjoy a chance to celebrate with the community. We receive congratulations from people who might not otherwise attend the ceremony. Graduation rehearsal will be Thursday morning at 9 a.m. And to that end, as we prepare for graduation rehearsal, I just want to, it was a long Monday today, checking some things, different things out. I want to make sure to acknowledge many of our teachers right now who are going to some exceptional lengths to save some potentially irresponsible seniors from their own selves. We have some teachers who are committed to seeing that our kids get across that stage. And like I said, we have people who are going well above and beyond with regard to taking late work, creating opportunities to take assessments, just doing different things. If you've ever doubted that our teachers are committed to our student success, don't. Because there are people right now stretching themselves to make sure that these kids get there on Sunday. So I definitely wanted to mention that. Other thing I wanted to share was just a little report on some ISAS data that we received. So there's a couple things. Mr. Hired helped put together a longitudinal report for me here. I'd kind of like to focus on the data from this year. While our math for this year is not where we would like it to be, it's certainly still solid in some pockets for sure. Our sixth graders were 89% proficient in mathematics. Seventh graders were 67, and eighth graders were 71. In high school, our ninth graders were 62, our 10th graders were 68, and our juniors were 74. So while there is room for growth in our math, we do have some pretty solid numbers there. And really just trying to get that department aligned and get some stability and get some clarity around scope and sequence 6 through 12 to assist with those numbers. Now, we have a celebration to acknowledge on the English language arts side of things. As you may recall, 2 years ago, our middle school was placed on targeted status with the state for ELA, for our free reduced lunch population. I would like to share that our middle school proficiency in 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade was 85%, 93%, and 78%. And that is in no small part to the work done by Ms. McCormick and Mrs. Joseph, Jessica Feiner, the whole English department, the work that Judy Zika from the AEA came and did with us, helping align standards with our new resource. That is significant. We had 3 7th graders who did test proficient on the ISAS. So big shout out to the English department. And then all the way up through the high school testing. Our freshmen were at 85%, our sophomores were at 81%, and our 11th graders were at 74%. But I would like to acknowledge there that we also had 4 11th grade move-ins who came in this year and all tested not proficient, who did take the ISAS last year. So you skew that data a little bit, that number is closer to 80. And when you have 80% of your students proficient, it's kind of a signal that your tier 1 instruction is where it needs to be. And then we support those kids who aren't proficient through the rest of our MTSS process. So big kudos to the English department. They've done some great work in preparing our kids and advancing our kids. The ISAS was just a snapshot, but it's still data. It's still real and it's important. And so I want to acknowledge the great members put together by our English department. And really beyond that, I could go over the laundry list of field trips and different things that have been taking place at the end of the year, but bottom line is I'll just summarize by saying we have a lot of our kids getting out, getting some great experiences, whether it be sharing our robotics at Perry High School, the elementary, or people still taking trips to manufacturing day, exposing kids to work-based opportunities. So it's just been a busy spring, and it's going to stay busy until we finish off. But it's going on.
So a lot of similar things at the elementary. We just actually received our final score for ISAS. They kind of come in, trickle in as students finish assessments. But our final score came in today, and really happy with the work. Like we said, it's a snapshot, but just thinking about all the work that kind of leads up to that with different components. So literacy ranged, 3rd grade was at 86% proficiency, 4th was at 93, and 5th was at 81. Math Third grade was at 94% proficient, fourth grade was at 93, and fifth was at 92. What's really exciting within that is we think about the number of kids that we're shifting from proficient to that advanced range. So in the area of math, we had 58 kids from third through fifth grade that fell in that advanced range. So kind of just thinking with how do we continue to really build them a solid foundation with that as we send them off to the middle school. I think thinking through this with ISASS today, we've also just finished through with our spring benchmark assessment data through FastBridge. So have the opportunity to kind of sit and listen to Alicia Rood and Leslie Hayes kind of go through one-on-one data meetings today, and tomorrow they will continue with teachers. But I think a success kind of coming in the end result from ISASS starts with all those data meetings and how we're continually looking at students and matching interventions to them all throughout the school year. And it's exciting to sit back and be a listener as they are already preparing and shifting interventions going in for the start of next year. So they're prepared and ready to do that before the students even leave. So kudos to all, both Alicia and Leslie leading that, but then teachers just really being vulnerable and transparent with where students are and what they need. I think the rest of my report really comes down to people, whether it be our students in the building and or staff. So last week we were able to celebrate Staff Appreciation Week. And I don't think we could have done enough for the people that make up just both buildings in general. But I think people, our staff has really been diligent in trying to create some really great experiences for our kids, whether that be the music concert that just recently happened through third through fifth. And then we had our K2 informances canceled because of weather. Miss Reese has decided to try something different and do those the next 3 mornings for kindergarten, first and second. So just an opportunity to showcase some work that kids have done in music. Similar to what Mr. Rubel said, all grade levels have just really been able to do some fun field experiences to get out in the community, tying things to the learning that they're happening in classrooms. And then just the continued experiences with either our students being able to come up here to the secondary building to learn from both teachers and high school students, but also our high school students in classes coming down and really creating some really neat partnerships with our kids. It's been fun for me, not knowing as many high school students, to really start to know them personally outside of activities as they have become part of our elementary, and the kids get really excited about that. We had, last time I wasn't able to share, we had our literacy night and a success. This was the first time we've done that in the last few years, but we had 196 students attend a literacy night, and with that brought at least one parent, but then oftentimes brought siblings and other family members, and they each received a book. There were reading and writing stations. Each grade level prepared tools for home that they can continue that work. There was a book fair that raised over $9,000, IPTV there, but just so many different things that our staff are really working diligently to provide great experiences for our students, and that's all come from leadership from teachers doing that, which I think, again, kind of echoing what Maury said, just how much they care about kids and creating exciting things for them. We had field day on Friday, which was the first year that I feel like we've had great weather from the start, but fun to just kind of see kids enjoy time together. We, hands down, could not do that without the middle school track team. So there were 3 or 4 kids paired with each class, kind of getting them to the restroom, getting snacks, getting them to the starting line, and entertaining them in between. But it's fun for our staff to just be able to step back and see kids be kids for a few hours, and just how much the community supports, either with getting t-shirts to providing the meat and grilling meat for the concession stand, to announcing. It's definitely a community effort that's appreciated by our building, both staff and students. This week we also have a unique thing that we're going to try for our preschool students. On Friday we're going to have what's called the kindergarten experience. So both preschool students from Elm Street and from our preschool program, and then anyone who has registered for kindergarten next year that might be either not in preschool or attending another preschool have the opportunity to come spend a half day in kindergarten. So they're going to kind of go through a makeshift half day. It gives our teachers a chance to have eyes on all kids and just look at some different makeup of students. But it also gives them an opportunity to kind of go throughout our building and engage in kind of what is a day in kindergarten going to look like. So we're excited about that. And then just again, like Mr. Rubel said, looking forward to the end of the year, and it feels like we don't have enough time to accomplish all the things that we really want to do, both with students and staff.
Very good. Any questions? I see no questions. Can I have a motion for the consent agenda? Oh, first of all, consent agenda.
Yeah, so there's a number of items there on that consent agenda. I guess a lot of it is just standard business with approval of minutes. One thing I'd like to note out is the graduation list that you guys hopefully saw in your packets. The IJAC partnership, this would be year 2 of that. If you guys remember with that IJAC partnership is it's a third, a third, a third. So we pay a third, there's private donations, which is a third, and then I think there's a grant that pays for a third of that. So that is able to support a number of our students with that Iowa Jobs for America's graduates. And then honestly, just the shared staffing agreements, there's just been a couple. We partner with United Community Schools. We're in a partnership with the food service and then our HR director. And it's just those agreements there. So those would be probably the major items that I would just want to highlight with the consent agenda.
So quick. My understanding is item E, like about Jackson, is more of an acknowledgement than an approval, but if anyone feels like it's more proper for me to abstain, I'm happy to do so. Does anyone have an opinion about that?
I don't think you need to.
Yeah.
Okay. And I will take this time to say we will be right back. We will be back. Just run into TK.
So while you're talking, do you want to make a motion?
I would love to make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Bergstrom,
Yes.
Merritt,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Vincent.
Yes. So the next item, action items A, time management system.
Absolutely. So I'm really proud of our directors. They saw a need. And they were looking for ways to become more efficient. And honestly, Melissa and Jesse, they drove the ship. So I'm going to hand this over to Melissa. She has a lot more information pertaining to time management, and then I can kind of fill in the gaps. But she led the work, and she's here. I feel like she probably needs to be able to speak just a little bit more about the rationale for it.
Sure. So right now we're using really 3 different systems to track absences, substitutes, time management. So we have our time clocks, and we got those in the summer of 2017. The backside of that is that the time clocks are all at the end of their useful life, and we would have to make another fairly large capital investment for physical time clocks to maintain the same system. We use our accounting software, has an online portal where we do our requisitions and our ordering, and we also keep track of our absences there, which has been very nice to start keeping track of those electronically instead of on paper. So we have this year moved back to electronically. However, it doesn't do any sort of sub-calling or sub-assigning with it, so we still have building staff calling and trying to assign subs to those positions. So what we were really looking for was some sort of system where we could combine that all into one place. And so Jesse was the one who found this Red Rover. It's a newer system. It's compared, we also looked at Frontline, which is kind of the status quo. A lot of schools use Frontline. Jesse was talking to some of the bigger schools who have started to move away from Frontline to this Red Rover system. So we went through a couple of Zoom meetings with Red Rover, really got to see how the system worked. There's an app and also a text message system to it. So when an absence is loaded that needs a substitute, it will send a push notification out to the subs on our list. They can accept that assignment right there on the spot. frees up some time with our building staff not having to do that. And then it all is in one location. So hourly staff will see their clocked hours and all of their absences back in one place again. Supervisors will be able to see how many absences someone has taken very easily without having to run complicated accounting style personnel reports for that. So we really were trying to look at how do we combine all of our systems into one. It'll be a little more expensive annually, but we really felt just the saving of time for staff.
Yeah, I think the initial upfront cost, it is a little bit more. But to be honest, if you look at what our building administrators and our secretaries do for the first 2 hours of the day, starting at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, it is making sure that their buildings are covered. And they're still going to have to carry some of that burden. But I think this process and this system is going to be able to automate a number of that and make it much more efficient. So that's the hope is yes, maybe it costs more on paper, but actually it might save us money with overtime of our secretaries, our burnout rate of our administration, etc. So I really think this is a good direction to go, and I was ecstatic when Melissa and Jesse approached me and said, "Hey, I think we found something here."
I love Frontline working with it, and I'm sure the broker's comparable, but for substituting, it's a no-brainer.
The Red Rover system is a little more updated visually, and it's more user friendly on the backside for like payroll downloads and tracking for supervisors. It had a little more user friendly appearance, and it was a lot cheaper.
That eliminates somebody at 5:30 in the morning trying to find us out.
Correct.
I mean, the computer does.
The computer should do a lot of that work. Yeah, so in theory, instead of making phone calls at 5:30, you're maybe making last-minute calls for those few anomalies that don't get filled at 7 o'clock. Or you're looking internally because the call has been out and nobody accepted the position. So you know, hey, we're not going to find an external coverage today. We need to look internally and figure out what we need to do.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the time management system from Red River.
I will second that.
Bergstrom,
Yes.
Merritt,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Dansicle.
Yes. Action item B, school fees.
So you guys have a list of the school fees there, and the only one that changed for this, the recommendation is the only one that changed from the school year to the 24-25 school year is our lunch. So with that, there is a required minimum rate, and it's $3.25. We are currently at $3.05. So we're 20 cents less than what the minimum requirement would be. We do not need to meet the minimum requirement because we have a surplus in our food account. With that being said, at some point, as that food account is going down, we're going to hit that, and we're going to be able to have to go to that $3.25 or whatever it might be. If we do not raise, because the max you can raise per year is 10 cents, we're going to eventually get to a point where we need to raise, but we can't raise to meet the minimum because we're so far low. So Melissa honestly has worked with Cindy, and we felt like let's try and get that to at least win a range that we're within 10 cents of that minimum. So the recommendation is that we just simply increase a nickel this year. So we would go from 305 to 310. We're starting to slowly close that gap, at least to get to that minimum. But honestly, also being considerate of the cost of food for our patrons.
Thanks. Any questions? I would entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve the 24-25 school fees.
Seconded.
Bergstrom,
Yes.
Merritt, Taylor,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Dansicle.
Yes. Action item C, strategic plan.
Absolutely. I want to hand out, I got a little bit of a packet for everybody. Pass that down. should be a complete packet. Yeah. Okay. Yes,
Okay.
I do. Yep, perfect. So this has been a conversation that we've had probably since I accepted the position, that I wanted to make sure that we had a strategic plan. One of the things that I really talked about was continuous improvement. I said that it's hard to do the work if we don't have the plan. I wanted to create a plan, and then we could go ahead and we can mobilize and operationalize that and make sure that we're moving forward with that. We went with a company called Teamworks, and January 2nd was our first meeting. So over the last 4 to 5 months, I've had a group of individuals from different stakeholder groups coming together and leading some of this work. We've gotten parent input, we've gotten staff input, we've gotten student input. And then finally, last month, we actually had a board work session where Jeff from Teamworks really led us to kind of look through what was the vision, mission. We have identified district priorities, core values, etc. And what I'm presenting to you guys tonight is really kind of a summarization of all that work. So I wanted to honor some of the work that was done previously while also listening to the messages that I've heard from the different stakeholder groups. And tonight I have just a one-pager for you, kind of a district strategic direction where it says our vision and mission statement, the core values that we talked about, or at least that were recommended, and then some district priorities. And those district priorities came through with the work that we've talked about in different subgroups. Ultimately, those district priorities are making sure that we're working on achievement, working on establishing a culture, working on continuous growth, and really maximizing our resources. So our 4 priorities are those: achievement, growth, culture, and resources. From there, and I'll pause after the second page for just kind of comments and feedback, we go to the desired daily experiences, which I believe is a critical part of our strategic plan. And again, this is from our students, family, and staff, and it's what we hope to accomplish and create here at Ogden Community Schools by making sure that we are owning up, or not owning, but we're working towards those desired daily experiences on a daily basis. With these 2 items, we have the strategic plan and those desired daily experiences. I view this to kind of be that roadmap on what we hope to accomplish. And then it's the work of our leadership team, our teachers, our building leadership teams to say, okay, if this is what we say we're going to do, how do we create an operational plan to make sure that those things come to life? So today, and I can talk about the other items, but I'm hoping to kind of gain feedback on the first draft that you guys have seen of the strategic plan with a one-pager as well as the desired daily experiences. If the board is satisfied with it, we can approve it and we can move forward and say this is Ogden Community Schools strategic plan moving forward. If there is some feedback that you guys want to receive and we're not satisfied with this, I'd take that feedback and then in June bring to you guys that final strategic plan. So I'm going to pause before I get into those other documents just to kind of see what are you guys' thoughts on these one-pagers. What are you guys thinking? Was I able to capture what you guys were thinking with the vision, mission, etc.?
So here's my kind of concern. It's all language that's pretty open, but there's no application in a way. So the next step to it, applying this is how do you put feet to this? It looks really pretty on paper, but how do you get it into the classroom?
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think if we just simply say we have a poster, and now because we have a poster, we're going to come to be the premier school.
That was an expensive poster.
Yeah, we're missing the boat. You're exactly right. So to that point, if you want to look at your third document that I prepared for you guys, what I have here is ultimately an operational plan for the district. And it actually identifies key actions and success indicators that need to happen during the 24-25 school year that we need to commit to making sure that we're making continuous improvement in these areas that we've identified. So really, we've taken these words and we said, okay, so what actions do we have to have, or do to make sure that these things are coming to life. So that's just from the district side. If you go even to the 4th page, what would happen, and this is just a sample, but let's say Amy would meet with her leadership team, and here is a template of creating an operational plan for the elementary, where she is going to say, okay, here's the strategic direction, here's the desired daily experiences, here's the district's operational plan. How do I align my elementary operational plan into actions to making sure that we're making forward progress in the areas that we need to? So hopefully that answered your question, Earl, and you're kind of seeing, yes, how do we get those words into actions? And it's through the operational plans.
Good.
How do we as a board check back and keep a cattle prod on this? You know what I mean? Well, how do we know that it's, you know, kind of drifts off into left field someplace and, oh, that was a happy time that when we spent it there, and we'll go on to something new in a year and a half.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we want to get into kind of we're reading a book right now, and it's 40X, Disciplines of Execution, and it talks about getting into a cadence of accountability. So if we're saying these are strategic priorities, this is our plan, how are we getting into that kind of accountability measure, making sure that if this is what we say we're going to do, we're actually doing it? And that would be having the board hold me accountable for those. So we're actually creating, and this would be kind of item 5 and 6 here, would be kind of how are we measuring that progress? And this would be one thing that I can bring to you guys and present. An example being this is a district. These are all the measures that we're going to measure and see are we making progress or not. And that would feed into actually a report card. And that report card would actually be able to give you how are we doing in those areas. If we say we're wanting to work on achievement, culture, growth, and resources, are we making progress, are we not? And then if we're not, what are we doing about it?
How often do we anticipate? Is it twice a year, quarterly?
Teamwork said twice a year. I think it's really what do we want to do and making sure if we're doing this, we're continuing to keep it in the forefront and we're not losing traction of it. So I think it's really talking to the board and figuring out how frequent you want me to present out. I would say a minimum of twice a year on these elements, and it might even be as I do my superintendent report similar to safety. I'm addressing that on a monthly basis, but I'm addressing maybe certain areas and bringing that to your attention of, hey, we said that we're working on growth. Here are some measures that we talked about, and here are some actions that we're doing over the last month or this coming month in that area to making sure that we're continuing to move progress.
Well, this is when you say a report card, this is, yeah, I get it. So the numbers I'm seeing here, where did these come from?
They would actually be, so on the back end, it's really complicated, but really it is taking a bunch of measures. So like desired daily experiences, we'll have a survey. One of the things that we could have on here is if our high school says achievement is really important, and how we measure achievement at the high school level is maybe student performance on summative assessments. Maybe it is graduation rate. Maybe it is number of students that participate in extracurricular activities. We need to define what all those things are, and then we would rank them on or assess them on a 5-point scale, and then all of those measures get rolled up into a score, and we actually have that on the actual vision score. So you're only seeing one number here, but that number is actually a combination of multiple different measures that we would be measuring.
And you're keeping score of the line item, so you can see if your overall score is lagging, what specifically are the ones that are lagging, right?
Yes.
So,
And one of the things that I had, and I failed to bring it to you guys tonight, but was we would look at these scores over time, and if we start to see patterns, we'd drill down and say, hey, we're seeing an issue at the middle school, high school with resource allocation. So we might actually dive into, well, what is resource? We would drill down into their individual report card and say, what are those makeups and what are those scores? We might be able to specifically identify an area that we're specifically struggling in, and then we can go ahead and make improvements in that area, is the hope.
Any other questions?
Yeah, these front 2 pages, love how they're put together. Are you asking for just a top line kind of yes or no, or digging in with feedback on specific statements at this time? Or
I think I want to get these to be finalized before we start the July, start the 24-25 school year. So I am open to feedback of, hey, because I tried to capture what you guys said in your work session. And if you remember what Jeff said is this is really that governance level. This is what the board owns. So if this strategic plan does not articulate what you guys really value and believe, I would say that before we approve it, I would want to make sure that it is reflective of what you guys believe.
Well, here's my question. It's on the vision one.
Yep.
And I love how it's worded, except for, and it's not, it's true, but the committed to transforming. Like how long is this our vision statement? Like committed to transforming 5 years from now? Is that statement still there? Is it still valid? I don't know. For some reason, I'm getting hung up on that word as a vision statement.
Which, can I hop on to that as well? To add on to what he said. At what point do we revisit this and update things that may have changed? This district's going to organically change and the priorities are going to change. So when do we revisit this and reset or course correct or whatever?
Yeah, that's my question. That vision, that gets printed on something, and years from now it says Ogden is still committed to transforming into a destination.
What if we change that, scratch out transforming into, and just put it in B?
Being, yeah.
Into what word?
Committed to being.
Committed
to being a destination.
I think it's a transformational process. So I think being is a state. That's a being verb. Unless you are that.
I see what you're saying.
And that's the goal. That's what we want to be.
But to transform says there's actions involved in getting to being, or you can't just become and be something. It's a small little step to get it.
Correct me if I'm wrong. This is also kind of a marketing tool too.
I think
Is that fair?
I think it's going to guide the work that we do. It's a marketing metric. I think it's multiple purposes.
I think that's where I am.
Because from transformation, it says you're going to take something that looks this way and make it completely different, or add a lot.
You're also saying you're not that right now.
Yeah. So we're not happy at where we're at today. We want to be something. Because right now, maybe we're kind of a destination school, but to really be a real destination school, there's going to have to be some transformation. So I love the word.
And I don't. That's why I asked the first question: is this the place where you wanted this to be? But I just stumbled on that word.
Yeah.
I do want the feedback because, again, at the end of the day, once we approve this, I think to answer your question, I think this can be a revisited document.
Sure.
By no means do I want to say, well, we did the strategic plan, but as we make progress, which we're going to make, I think it's always worth us revisiting and saying, okay, now the conditions and things have changed. We've made progress, things have changed in society, whatever it might be. Do we need to change the vision, mission? Do our core values still believe what they are? And I don't know what that process is. By no means do I want to go through this every year.
Right.
But I think every 3 to 5 years, I think it's probably something that we need to revisit.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a true statement right now. So, whatever you guys think.
So, but to your argument, if you say committed to transforming into a destination district by admission already, you're saying
We're not.
that we're not.
That's what I'm saying.
And it's the vision, not the current. So yeah, I like the just scratch out transforming into and replace it with being, and I'm totally fine with everything else on here. I think it's great. Because yeah, that's job one is figure that out. Job two is let Mr. Heyer figure out what the metrics are. And I think you're well on your way to something that makes sense there.
Love all this stuff.
So when we did that exercise with Jeff, and we did the core values, there was a descriptor. I understand that this document wouldn't have enough, it would get too busy to define those core values. But when will we do that? Or where would it be posted? So defining the core values.
Yeah, I've looked at a number of schools, and some of them actually define what those core values are and specifically say, and some of them leave them just simply as a word. I have a document that I started to actually have some of that wording. I could bring that. I guess it's just, what does the board want? Do you guys want those to be spelled out, or do you want those core value words? I think one of them that we talked about just specifically was the word respect. And I think defining that, does that align to, how do I say this? I view respect as something that maybe is different than what Matt does. So do we need to specifically state that out so everybody has clarity about respect? Does it mean, well, I'm an adult, I'm an authoritative figure, so hence you must respect me? Or does respect mean that I'm going to respect everybody no matter what their opinions are? Do we have to define that as a core value?
I would, not necessarily on this document, but on some document somewhere. Because, like you said, whether it's respect or integrity might mean something different to Boone or Ames or more guys as well, And what's innovation mean to us? What does community mean to us? What does curiosity mean to us? Because it would be different, and maybe substantially different than Boone or Green County or whatever. So somewhere in our literature, I think it would probably be for us to define what those are. But on this main document, I think it would be
I would agree with that.
so, and we do have a June 3rd meeting.
We do have tentatively, yep.
So are we still thinking about doing that meeting, or were you hoping to get?
If we need to have that meeting to identify the core values and define them, I think that's something we can do.
Well, maybe let's back up a step. On these 2 pages, does anybody disagree with anything other than the one word change we were possibly discussing?
I love everything else.
I mean, if we're having the June 3rd meeting, then I think this is business for that, quite frankly. I mean, when we're tearing apart sentence structure and talking about defining words, you know what I mean? Like, we'll be here.
That's kind of why I asked
9
about
o'clock.
tonight.
I don't think we need to define the words. I think that's
Well, that's what Matt was saying. You know what I mean? Like,
for this document. We don't need to define words. I think is what I'm trying to say.
Not for this document.
Because
I'm just saying, if we're having that meeting, then I mean, that's a week before basically the
We
board
can-
meeting. So what would be the point of approving anything right now if we're having a meeting? I guess is my question. So maybe I'm not understanding.
What I'm hearing is that let's go ahead, I'll make this change. We will put this in our work session for June. And that work session, basically, we're finalized with everything, with the exception of labeling or identifying the core values. From there, I will bring it to the June meeting, and you guys will approve it at that time. And that will then be the strategic plan, our roadmap for success moving forward, July on.
So, and it's not an action item. So,
There'll be no action tonight.
We're just gonna have to table it. Yep.
but generally speaking, the consensus of the board is this is heading in the right direction.
For sure. I mean, my opinion of it is I love all of it. Just,
It's the general consensus. Is we're
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the more, if anybody has an issue, let's say it now. That way we don't burn another month or burn hours at the next meeting. Because I don't see any issues at all. How we define those words, to me, the board, this is our big picture to give the district. It's up to the district staff, and parents and staff will determine the definition of these words, in my opinion, as we move forward. So what I don't want to see is, I don't want to see the admin team burn a bunch of time giving us definitions of stuff when we could be implementing the plan. That's the risk I see on stuff like this. Is I don't want to burn their time trying to.
Are you saying we don't need to have the June 3rd meeting?
I see no point to it as far as approving this, but that's just me. That's my opinion. I'm totally fine approving this with the one change, and then just letting the admin team run with it.
I think I would agree with that.
I'm actually okay with that too. I was just saying if we are going to have that meeting, then there's no reason to even fool with this. But if we're good, I mean, let them get to work.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, there are so many layers of accountability here. I think is what's so important. And this is just kind of the roadmap. And then, I mean, you can even see, I mean, with the operational plan at every level. There's systems, there are measurements, there's accountability everywhere. So I think it's time to.
So, at the risk of this going on, what would your definition of respect be?
Putting me right on the spot, or check.
Or what would your definition of respect be? And it could be substantially different.
Okay, and I understand
so
that,
then
Matt, but
when we define respect, as a district, when we use that word respect,
do you want it
what do
defined
we-
on this paper? Is what
not on this page.
like do you? This is, I think, what we're saying. So this is just like the 30,000-foot plan. So I mean, if you're suggesting that somewhere in the literature they be defined, I don't think that you have a problem with that probably, but I mean, I think we all agree that they don't need to be. You get what I'm saying?
It's the same. It's the same thing with like the elementary operational plan that's on here right now. Like it's blank right now. Somebody's going to fill that in, and there's going to be. I think you approve the plan with the change you make and let everybody go to work on the rest of it.
So I don't know if this could be an issue, but it could be. To where I think what you're saying is let the administrators define these words. Is that what you're saying?
Well, you might not like what I'm actually saying, and that is, to me, these words are what they are. Like, I actually don't agree with you saying they are so vastly different from Ogden to Boone. I don't actually see it that way. I think that integrity is pretty much integrity here and in Des Moines and in Mississippi and in Memphis and in New York, and I think so is innovation. I think that I think that is true for some words, sure, but I think for these 6 words, to me, and I mean, y'all please weigh in, to me they are what they are. to me. And so I'll go a step further and say it almost makes me uncomfortable when we talk about defining them and getting a little micromanaging.
I agree. The other part of that I see is, okay, if we try to define respect, we're going to have roughly 1,400 parents that also try to define respect. And if it doesn't agree with our definition, it won't. I mean, there's 1,400 people that are our customers that aren't going to probably agree with whatever we try to define it as. So I don't want to get in the weeds on defining these words. This is,
So the flip side of that is my argument. Is we have 1,400 different definitions of the word. That's my concern.
And they aren't going to agree with this document if they're different than what we decide the definition is. And I mean, let's look at a dictionary. The definition is the definition here. We're not using political buzzwords that have multiple different definitions on purpose. We're looking at very core values, and to me, it's we're on the verge of exploring naval lit if we go to define all these, in my opinion. Exploring our own naval lit, wasting a lot of time. You can quote me on that. It's a good one. Yeah, I don't want to burn our staff's time on stuff like this. There's so much good work here that let's not get too deeply in the weeds on it at our level.
Fair enough. I will entertain the motion.
Does everybody agree with the word change? Does anybody, word my first point? Or are we all five on board with that?
I love transforming. I think it's a powerful. I think it's a word that's defined more. So, but you know what? When people look at it, they're not gonna pause and go. They're not gonna be an English teacher that worries about a word. So I can go with anything.
Okay. Well, I'm going to make a motion to approve this with the change from transforming to being on Joshua's strategic plan.
I'll second that motion.
Bergstrom,
Yes.
Merritt,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Vincent.
Yes.
Have we just effectively canceled our June 3rd work
Yes.
session?
I think so.
I think I did.
This is showing.
Thank you. Yes. I want to also, I guess, recognize that there's a lot of people that put in a lot of time and energy into this, so I appreciate their input and doing a lot of the heavy lifting. So if this did not come by me, it was honestly a committee of people that ultimately got us to this. And now I think the important work starts, and I truly believe that we got a team that's going to get that done. Shout out to Heartland AEA Print Services. I sent an idea and a concept to them, and they actually did the work for us as far as creating the infographic.
We're probably like 10 cents.
Yeah. So again, AEA, appreciate everything that they do for us.
Looks great.
Action item D, playground project.
So our playground, didn't know if you guys are aware, but with our pre-K, it is a DHS. We have to make sure that we're meeting those requirements, and they do audits. And they came in, and through just natural decomposition of the wood chips, wear and tear of the wood chips, they start to slowly sink. In addition, sometimes maybe they come in from recess with a kid, they go out into the gravel, whatever it might be. And DHS said that our fall zone was not meeting specifications. And one of the things that I'm always about is making sure that we're addressing our safety before we're addressing anything else. So Billy Olson has really worked with a number of vendors and brought a lot of different options on. Do we go with standard wood chips? Do we go with a rubber mulch material? Or do we actually go with a poured You guys have probably seen those that are pretty nice, sophisticated. And honestly, after looking at that, speaking to Ms. Krause, really looking at where we are financially, I think the recommendation that we're bringing to you guys tonight is that happy medium. And that is bringing in a synthetic rubber mulch where it doesn't decompose over time. It's going to be more, friendly for our students when they fall. We've actually had some students get hurt and injured due to the wood chips this year. And that isn't because of the fall zone itself. It's simply because you're dealing with, a wood fiber. In addition, I think that this is just going to be, once we do the initial upkeep or initial cost, it's going to be a touch-up every year. Those not wood chips, but the rubber mulch obviously is going to leave those zones, but it's much easier for us rather than bringing in a skid steer and taking out all that mulch. It's simply going to be bringing in a bag and dumping it in and topping off that rubber mulch as we move forward. So I do think it's the right option, but I'm bringing you guys that recommendation for the blue synthetic rubber mulch for this school year.
I would just like, I'm sorry. This is funny to me. In our packet, it says, just for you who don't have it in front of you, it says, there have been a number of wood chip related accidents. And I'm sorry, that's so funny to me because in my own family, we have also experienced some wood chip related injuries. So, I don't know, I'm sorry. That was so funny.
I move that we
Yeah.
go with the rubber,
Please.
synthetic rubber.
Let's do it.
I will second it.
Can you take, Earl, can you add the from Boland Recreation?
From Bowling, okay, Bowling Recreation, thank you.
No more wood chip related injuries.
Bergstrom,
Yes.
Merritt,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Van Sickle.
Yes. Policy review.
There was no change. There was two that just needed their titles corrected.
So again, just going through our policies, Melissa identified there really isn't any changes. It's just making sure that we're looking through those. So we're in the 500 series. I think we were in 5061, which is kind of educational records, and read all the way through 5064 and those types of things. So as you guys can see in your packet, I really don't have anything to say except for really we're just continually revising, or not revising, but looking at them.
I'll make a motion to approve the first and final reading of policies 506.1 through .4.
I'll second.
Bergstrom,
Yes.
Merritt,
Yep.
Taylor,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Van Sickle.
Yes. Moving on to communications, delegations, and petitions. We move to public comment. We have two people that signed up for maybes. Jared
I don't know.
and Mrs. Rude.
I have no comments.
So having no comments, board calendar. Which is not much.
Yeah.
Anything calendar-wise other than graduation, etc. Superintendent report.
Absolutely. So safety, just want to again address that, talk to you guys about that. You guys have seen this document that I'm handing out. There should be a number of them there. I really want to focus on the yellow and or the bold, which is that last item there. But the yellow are simply, we're in the works of starting them. We're either waiting for the product or the material to come in, and then we will go ahead and work on getting those installed this summer. I'm in the process of revisiting our emergency operation manual. I'm also creating a flip book for the entire district. A flip book basically is a quick index that you can go through any emergency situation. So I am doing that as well. Wanted to bring to your attention that we will be bringing in June some classroom locks as well as just making sure that our keying of our doors as well as interior locks, easily being able to lock them from an interior rather than going out into a common space. So there will be a couple bids that will be coming in the June meeting for us, hopefully for you guys to approve and more information. The last item that I just want to talk to you guys about, and I guess ask you what information you need from me is that a school resource officer partnership has been something that has been discussed. I have been in further conversation with our city, just a little bit more on what might a 28E agreement look like if we were to enter into something with the city of Ogden and getting a school resource officer in partnership. And if you guys are aware, schools can go ahead and get operational share dollars, and really what it is, it's additional kid count on your official roster or resident student. If you share a school resource officer with an entity, you can actually get 2 additional kids counted. Right now, students are $7,600, so ultimately it would be about $15,000 to $16,000 additional that Ogden would receive if we were to enter into a partnership. We can enter into a partnership at a minimum of 20% of a school resource officer, and it could go up to more. I've done a little bit of calculation. I've had some conversations with the mayor, city clerk, etc. I guess my thing is I want to bring a recommendation to the board, but I want to make sure that I'm able to answer your questions in June with that recommendation. So this allows me a month to be able to get the information that you need so that you can be an informed board and make a decision on June on that recommendation. So my question is, I guess, is what information do you need for June to be able to make a decision on if you think a partnership with the city of Ogden and a school resource officer is a direction that the board wants to take?
I mean, obviously the money. So, I mean, you're saying we get roughly 15,000. So is that also what's going out? So is it, neutral? That'd be important. For how many hours? And I guess who? I mean, I would like to assume that we're talking about Ethan, but yes or no? I mean, those, I guess, 3 things.
Okay.
Maybe the split between the 2 buildings, how, I
Yeah.
don't know,
So, I mean, those would
depends
be,
on the both or not, how much.
I mean, I'm very supportive of that. Like, I would like to approve that today. If I mean, I know you don't have this, but so, I mean, I think we're pretty close to that. I'm really excited about that. Thank you for doing that work.
Any other things?
What would be, I mean, what would his role be? I mean, I don't see, I saw it in Boone. I saw the need for it in Boone, really big time. But I guess I just never have seen the need, but I'm not in the day-to-day. I like the community relationship police, the familiarity relationship. I see the benefit there. But are there enough incidents that person's presence would make a difference? I mean,
To me, if we wait until there's like verifiable incidents, why I think we're too late.
okay.
A couple of do you mind? I'm so sorry. I don't want to answer for you, and I'd love to hear what you have to say also, but just really quickly, like, for me personally, I think that, especially after what happened in Perry, I think that it's just a lot of peace of mind for parents and community members to know that there's an armed officer around, right? So that's first and foremost. I mean, safety. I mean, it is more safe. I think it'd be hard to argue that it isn't. Secondly, I think just the relationship with students. So, I mean, in Ogden, when there is mischief, going on, a lot of times it is students, unfortunately. And so I think even that relationship will minimize that also. I just think it's a good thing for students to know that they are the helpers and that's who they can look to for that. And I think that Ethan is a great one to do that. And for me, like especially if it's hardly going to cost us anything, I feel like our chief of police is already doing this work as much as he's able, and so I think that it'd be a really like some goodwill on our part to compensate him for, in my opinion, what he's already. And you guys can speak to that more than I can, but I feel like he's already doing a lot of that anyway. So that's the why I'm all for it personally. But you probably have more to say about that.
I'm all for it because of Ethan.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and,
sure.
Yeah, my hope tonight was to identify what questions you have so that you guys can be informed board members when you make this decision next month. So I wrote down money, hours, who, time and buildings, defining the role, and is there a need in the district. So I will gather that information, and then ultimately I will hopefully be bringing a 28E agreement and really what I think we need. And then you guys, based off the information I give, can approve or deny my recommendation.
Overall, I like the idea. One thing, if you can, any districts in the conference, any districts in Central Iowa, what are some of the more common pitfalls of having an SRO? We're not reinventing the wheel. We're just doing what other districts have done. I'm sure they've dealt with the pros and cons.
Thank you for adding that. Other things that I just want to mention with superintendent's report, there's been a lot going on, and honestly, one of the things that I've noticed a lot that I just really brings a smile to my face is the amount of times that I'm in either an outside event, that's Ogden Community Schools, I'm at our elementary, whatever it might be, but it seems like I would say about 90% of the time we have middle school, high school kids interacting and working with our elementary kids. So that mentorship, that partnership that I'm seeing, it just makes me really proud as superintendent. And there was lots of evidence of it last week where I was at the elementary building probably 3 or 4 times, and every single time there was high school students working with our elementary kids. And a case in point, I was able to experience the Bob Mullins field days, and it was an amazing event. And there's so many people that made sure that that happened, and I don't think it could happen if it wasn't for our junior high students out there really helping with our elementary kids. So I just wanted to make sure that I pointed that out in my superintendent's report, that I think that's really critical of this is the Ogden way, and we're showing our youth this is how we do things. And I really appreciate that partnership and work. Graduation on Sunday, 2:30? 2:30 graduation.
Do we need to be there Thursday? Or just...
I'm gonna defer to Maury. Do they need to be on for Thursday, or can they just arrive on?
In the past, we haven't had more than a rehearsal. We'll run through your speech piece. Mine will run through. We'll run a couple times. We'll roll a couple of times. And go through everything.
So we don't.
Or we can just have you show up on the day, show you where you'll be sitting, and then stand up, start shaking hands.
Okay.
Can I have the bottom of the alphabet?
I already planned.
Okay.
Some of my favorites are the bottom half of it.
Some of my favorites are on there. All right, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I will make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Bergstrom,
Yes.
Merritt,
Yep.
Taylor,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Vansickle.
Yes.
I just have one last question off the record. Does anybody know what kind of plant this is?
Oh, it's a pink geranium that Earl has in his head.
Oh, yeah.
Water it.
Yeah, I mean,
It's a premium.
I really
Colored.
can't